Hi, everybody. Tim Ports here. Welcome back to another International Fuel Ethanol Workshop and Expo podcast. We're thrilled to be joined today by Zach Baer, Fermentation Engineer at IFF Health and Biosciences. Zach is presenting on a panel we're calling Best Practices in Plant Control 2, bringing data to bear on fermentation and liquefaction decisions. That panel is Wednesday morning, June 15th at 10:30. And again, Zach Baer is with us this morning to answer some questions about his presentation. Welcome, Zach. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Tim. I'm great. How are you?
Terrific. Hey, your abstract promises an explanation about how the XCELIS AI platform can help producers stimulate yeast blend strategies. I'm interested in a kind of a comparison and a contrast to how producers are currently making decisions about yeast blends. Can you talk about what's happening in the field now and what the XCELIS AI virtual platform allows producers to do?
Yeah, Tim, that's a great question. And let me first acknowledge that a large segment of the producers we work with and are in the field are using yeast blending as a strategy today to improve their performance. But kind of the current model of implementing a yeast blend strategy at your plant has been a lot of guess and check. And you have an idea of how those different yeasts are going to behave, but a lot of times they're actually coming from different providers. So at the end of the day, you really aren't sure about the outcome until you try it, right? And if you make the wrong choice, that's a lost opportunity cost that you as the producer have to take, and it can be quite substantial. So at IFF, what we've been doing is we've developed a broad yeast portfolio of strains that can deliver high yield, extreme robustness, near complete glucoamylase replacement and speed, first to give that producer several options on how they might think about designing a yeast blend that really suits their facility. And if you pair that with that yeast portfolio with our XCELIS AI platform, our virtual tools, where we've mathematically captured all the features of those yeasts that we produce and how they interact with one another in our dynamic fermentation model, you start to take a lot of the guess and check work out of the plant and you move it into the virtual space. So that really cuts down on your risk. You also now have our entire sales and tech service teams able, with the full and latest knowledge of our world-class R&D team, to answer those questions right at their fingertips and create the best yeast blend strategy that's tailored to both you as the producer's process and the market conditions that you're working under. And I would say that, the investment that we have made in XCELIS AI enables us to run these analyses really quick and to get those answers back to you, the customer, and really start to dig deeper into not just what's a good blend strategy for you, but what's the best blend strategy for you as a particular producer. An easy way I like to think about this and this lost opportunity cost is just think about what it would take for you as a producer to go and test all the yeasts that are out there in the marketplace and blend them together. And with how many choices you have today in this environment, you could be spending over a year before you felt comfortable that you had found what is really the best solution for your plant. And that whole year that you were doing that, you were losing money because you weren't on the ideal solution. What modeling and XCELIS AI bring to you is you shorten that timeline dramatically, and it's at virtually no cost to you, the customer. It's all happening in the digital space, not happening at your plant. One thing I also like to highlight with people when they think about this is, and we were really surprised to see this with our customers, we start getting asked questions that as an enzyme and a yeast supplier, we didn't realize that we could provide so much insight to our customers. So now they ask about, well, what happens if I decide to expand my plant or improve my hygiene or alter my grind rate? What's that going to mean for me with IFF? And now having these digital tools in XCELIS AI, we can go and model those changes and understand, okay, well, this means we would bring new products to you that we would recommend, or you can expect a yield change or improvement or productivity improvement or not based on these possible scenarios. And we're always happy to investigate that with our XCELIS AI technology so that the customers can have an informed capital or process change decision, and they understand the value that's going to be associated with that. I think that really summarizes it, that you're now moving from an ad hoc guess and check to you've got a set of products that were designed for this and a process that we can go through it with you that's very systematic.
That's great stuff. And I think it gets to some of my next question, and that is, we've been discussing data capture and the deployment of artificial intelligence for 5 to 7 years at the FEW, and what we hear repeatedly from producers is that it's daunting. It seems overwhelming. And the question that I have for you, maybe you can expand on again some of those comments near the end of your the answer to your first question, was what's the best argument for staying the course for producers and then leaning into this very powerful AI technology? What is the upside?
Yeah, I mean, we're challenged with this as well, and I'm very understanding that an AI deployment at a producer's plant, that's a major investment in digging deeper into understanding, what makes your plant tick. We're talking process, mechanical side of things, or just what's happening with the biology at work in your plant. At IFF, the dynamic fermentation model that I'll be talking about at FEW, that's really one of the first levels of AI that we engage with our customers. So this is sort of the beginning. We also provide some data analytics and automated reporting as an early entry into AI. And we're hopeful that when we are able to show the customer what kind of questions and answers AI can provide to them and how fast it is to get an answer, we can start to build the confidence needed towards maybe making an advanced AI deployment, if it's appropriate. It's not always appropriate to keep going further. AI tools, what they provide to the producer, and the easiest way I try to explain this, it's a way to perform research and engineering on their facilities and gain new insights that weren't obvious to them before. So you really realize the upside of this when you are presented with an AI-generated option, products and conditions that are believed to maximize the potential of your facility, and you, the customer, have confidence by which those options were generated and can make that improvement. That's really the power of XCELIS AI.
Fascinating stuff. Last question for you, Zach. Your abstract talks about how ethanol producers, they've got data capture sorted out. Like the challenge isn't in actually capturing the big data. Instead, it seems like the magic seems to be in divining useful patterns from the captured data. Where are the patterns? And is this where the XCELIS, AI platform comes in? Can you talk a little bit about that? Is that what XCELIS AI does? Is it helps producers identify those meaningful and useful patterns?
Yeah, the patterns are really what's important. And what I'll say is that you're absolutely right that, we're surrounded by data these days, and capturing it is not an issue. That is not the hard part. There are several different ways that you and I can take that data. We can transform it, we can manipulate it, we can interpret it. But at the end of the day, you're looking for insights, you want new understandings, and you want actionable recommendations. So at IFF, and more specifically for XCELIS AI platform, our approach to this has been predominantly to build our AI tools around the foundational knowledge we've gained over the past 60 years as a world-class science and engineering company. So what we're really using is that foundational knowledge as a backstop to our AI tools. And when we start to see behavior in the data that's coming out of the plant that's different than we predict, that's really the cue to lean in with the customer and better understand what might be going on at that plant that's hidden in those ones and zeros of that data. And a classic example that I always talk about, and it happened just last year, was a case when we were bringing a new yeast trial to a plant, And really early on, we noted a dramatic rate change compared to what we had modeled in XCELIS AI and our expectations. Now, this was a new product to the customer, so they had no idea whether the performance they were seeing was expected or atypical. But because we had the modeling and the virtual tools of XCELIS AI, it enabled us to identify it immediately and work with them to go through all the possibilities that it could be. We eventually, using the XCELIS AI tool, steered them to a major plant contamination that was occurring in their scrubber bottoms, and that had slowly been building up leading up to their trial. And then they could easily resolve that right before we continued trialing the yeast. And if we didn't have XCELIS AI to tell us that this rate performance that we were seeing was significantly differential to what we should expect at a plant of this design and this operation, we probably wouldn't have found the issue so quickly. And we certainly wouldn't have resolved it before we continued with the yeast trial. And that means that we really were enabling ourselves to look at products under conditions that we understand what's happening. And that's really important as we try to understand, the benefit or what we're really getting out of these products at these customers' facilities. Because we can't control everything, but the more we understand, the more we can gauge how we're moving. And I really hope that this helps you understand better what at IFF we're doing in the fuel ethanol market. We're not only bringing you great products, but our XCELIS AI tools and our support teams that we bring to you to really come up with those winning solutions that ensure that our customers are running the best they can.
Compelling stuff, Zach. And for those listening that want to hear more about how artificial intelligence, specifically XCELIS AI, can be used to simplify yeast blending and give greater visibility and understand what's happening in your process, please put Wednesday morning 10:30 on your schedules, on your FEW schedules. I want to thank Zach for joining us this morning. Thank you, Zach. I hope you have a fantastic conference. I imagine there's going to be a lot of interest and intrigue in your presentation in this panel specifically. Looking forward to seeing everyone in Minneapolis in just a couple of weeks. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time on another International Fuel Ethanol Workshop and Expo podcast. Zach, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. This has been great.